Sweet.
Got all the big names.
Every Second Matters, September 2014. Go.
You're here.
Ew.
Boy, I just made it.
I know, me too.
Oh, it's Wesley.
That's the bell. I came down the bell.
That was confusing. I was trying to figure out who Gun Website's the other persona Juleps. It's Wesley. Now we know.
It's how the hell am I signed in as that? Oh, because that's what I was signed into Google Plus as last. I'm gonna fix that. I'll be right back.
There you go. So when I was in New York 2 weeks ago, it wasn't today, but 2 weeks ago, and I have my whole about 15 to 20 family members there, and I brought it up. We're just talking about guns. I was like, God, how do you guys deal with it here? And they were all of the mindset of like, well, what do you mean? It's kind of funny how, I guess those are the fence people that part of my family is. They didn't really see it one way or another as a big deal. And then, but I was able to at least put it in their mind to get them to think about it, which was really, really cool to have that conversation.
I talked to a few people, friends of mine back in New York, because I don't have any family back there anymore. Everybody left because of crap like this. Everybody just moved out of New York. And a lot of them I know are burying. They're just doing a lot of digging, Yeah. buying stuff that's compliant that they can show or whatever. So, but and they did it a year ago. Most of them just got stuff either out of state or got it looking like it's out of state.
It's funny just driving through the state in New York. I just feel like, wow, is that knife I brought okay? Is weird thoughts like that. Like why should I be thinking like this? Stupid. But that's what it's all about. How about you, Stone Guy? What'd you do today?
I went shooting, bought some ammo, bought some extra magazines. Didn't do anything, didn't talk to anybody, but supported it financially.
Yes, I bought a plate carrier today.
And you went shooting. I mean, that's a good day, even if it isn't the second Tuesday.
There you go. Definitely.
I did it's the first time in a while I've been talking to all you guys, but I did a little Second Amendment discussions with a few people today because I'm wearing my AK-47 shirt, so it can break the ice with people that are interested, and it gets glaring looks from people that hate it.
Sure.
So, and I find those more fun.
Yeah. I gotta admit, it snuck on me again. I don't know if that happened to you, Webbs, and why you went, oh crap, but I kind of spaced it and totally forgot it was a second. I hate to say, but I am honest.
Oh no, I totally forgot. I had like 2 things to do this morning. I was supposed to talk to Tac Daddy, and then it's one of those things where it's like, oh, can you cover us while we're at lunch? Like, yeah, no problem. And then next thing I know, it's like 4 o'clock, and I'm supposed to be doing my podcast. As I'm setting it up, you guys are like, when's the Every Second Matters podcast? And I'm like, oh crap. So I totally forgot. But here's what I did this month. I didn't do it today, but I did it this month on my various Facebook. You ever heard of the Facebook? It's a social network out there for people. Yeah. So on that platform, you're allowed to schedule stuff. So I took the Every Second Matters logo, which is on the screen right now. You can grab it at the website, everysecondmatters.us, and stuck it into my Facebook so that, like, I think it depends on what account I did it on, but a couple of days before the second, I have a reminder come up and say, Every Second Matters, talk about guns on the second. And it's just a reminder so that people can go, oh yeah, the second, just like I forgot about it, right? But that's something I did so that, anyway, I schedule that out as far as Facebook will go. So like February of next year, every 30th of the month, a thing's going to pop up on the channel and go, hey, remember Every Second Matters. So that's something that if you're interested in getting the word out, do that once, like now while you're thinking about it or while you're listening to this on a podcast. And if everybody's Facebooks are doing that, that's something.
Well, it's nice, yeah, because it'd be like a blanket, too, of icons, the Every Second Matter icons going out, hopefully.
Yeah, and it's just like, why are these all out there? That's the whole point, is to just say,
we know everybody's birthday we don't care about. Let's get something we do care about reminding us. Absolutely.
You got me wondering, gee, if that's the only reason I remembered it today.
Oh, there you go.
I don't know why I
I
remembered
did
it
that,
today.
but I did it earlier in the month, and
Well, I
I only
woke up
remembered
and
it because
I'm
these guys told me.
like, it's the second, and I'm like, oh yeah, wait a minute, I saw something, whatever, and I just like picked out a shirt that was the AK shirt today. It was just funny.
Man, life just got in the way today.
Well, no, it wasn't even. It was
For
that's
me.
like not-
Made me forget.
Well, the gun stuff and that kind of stuff is what makes me forget about the rest of my day. So that's
Right.
why I pay attention to it. It's I don't watch TV or any of that crap. So
Mm-hmm.
Thin Blue Line posted something, and I had a similar question in your AK Guru chat there, G. But he says that Just Dano at 11:57 to the panel. What's the difference between the gun community and the gun culture? Because I saw that from Jaeger the other day, or maybe earlier today, or whatever it was. He had mentioned something about it, how he's not part of one, but he's part of the other.
Yeah, I didn't understand that shit. Artisan Tony just did a video basically not really calling Jaeger out. He was just trying to wrap his head around what the difference was.
Oh shit, we need to send Tony a link. Hold on.
You know.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. I didn't watch. I know he just posted a video. I ain't gotten around to it.
Oh, he's got anthrax.
So I actually met an international student today, and I offered to take him shooting. He's from China, and I was like, you like guns? He's like, yeah, but in China they're totally illegal. He was super.
What's that have to do with what we're talking about?
Because we're supposed to be talking about every second matters, not about fucking James Jaeger.
Well,
I felt like
keep the
Edge was here for a second.
I'd just like to say that Marco just made their most racist
You guys want to talk about
Chinese
James
dialect
Jaeger
I've ever heard.
shit. Like, I got something better to talk about.
Hey, Marco, I was going to say you're going to get him a Norenko to shoot.
Whoa,
I wish I had
what
one.
is squeaking?
That'd be sweet.
I got one of them. If he wants to shoot an actual Chinese gun, I'll hook him up. I don't have a stock on it, but I can hook him up.
I'll be psyched to shoot anything. I mean, it's
No, he was super excited. I was like, bro, I'll take you shooting, and like, you should have seen his face. So he's a little kid. He's like, I think he's 25 or 27. Straight from China.
Did he say he read you wrong time?
Nah. But he did say he was a whiz in Excel, and he noticed in class that I was struggling in Excel, so this dude's gonna size me big time.
Oh, so you're
Totally
gonna make best friends with this dude. That's cool though.
I do proudly have both stickers on both sides of my car, the Every Second Matter stickers. Absolutely, thanks, Wes.
I was kind of disappointed on how long those were holding up, though.
They really don't hold up so well, but what are you gonna do?
We also got to figure out what to do with these things. How many are in that bundle?
Shit, I don't know, like 60, 50, I don't know. I just stuck whatever I had left in that, wrapped them up, and sent them. I mean, I've still got like 5, and I've got one on my truck, but whatever was left, I just packed up and sent.
Well, the thing is, I don't have necessarily time to start addressing 50 envelopes every day or whatever, so I don't know how to move these things. How do we do this? I wish there was a place like the stickers. Well, there is that place, that Sticker Mule or whatever I used, where you can put an Every Second Matter sticker on, but then it's going to cost like $5 every time you buy one. That's a waste.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to do the stickers. I mean, I guess if you guys want... Sorry, I'm eating peanuts. It's bad. I can post like an address that you can send us like a self-addressed stamp envelope to, and then I can just open the envelope and drop a sticker in, throw it back in the mailbox. That won't be too much of a pain in the ass, but I'm just saying I'm not going to be doing that for the rest of my life, right? So I don't know how we're going to do these stickers. We can dump them. I'd rather do like a group of 10. I don't know if people are interested in like 10 stickers that you could hand out maybe, but these things cost like $1.10 a piece, you said?
Yeah, if I'd have done it a little different, I'd have probably just tried to see if you could just throw an address on there, and then just like send the envelope with like $3 on it to me, and then I'll like send 2 or 3 stickers back in an envelope. You know, just send a stamped envelope off and like $3 bills, and I'd like
Yeah.
throw a couple stickers in the envelope and send it back. That'd
why
probably
can't
been the
you
best
do
way
that?
to do it. Because G-Webs has got all the stickers.
Well, that's the thing. I have them all right now. So what am I going to do with them? So, I mean, I'm not trying to hold them ransom. It's just that, what are we going to do with these things? So if anybody's interested in like 10 at a time for whatever it would be, 10, $11, I guess, for 10.
Yeah, about that. That'd be about right.
So it sounds like, that's 3 or 4, so that's not so bad. If you guys want to, but just do 3, I don't know, whatever that, what did I say, $11 for 10? So say $12 for 10, and then you don't have to worry about sending me an envelope or whatever. But it's going to
That'd be
cost me
cool.
like an envelope and a 70-cent stamp to probably send 10 things. So,
Um,
so I guess if people are interested in the stickers, and these are indoor stickers, so good for like indoor projects. It sounds like, not for like sticking on your car.
it's just the
Yeah, they're
water
like
and the
toolbox
sun doesn't hold up.
Then,
Toolbox.
I'm getting some I'm getting something printed up for myself, something on another project, but they're on really high quality sticker paper, and there probably would be more. We're getting these things printed out in sheets, so maybe I'll see if I can just add that to it, and then I can be another hub if you don't care, and then I can.
No,
I don't
that's
know, maybe
fine.
I can send like digital, like here, you take 20, and then you take care of like 10 people with those. You send them, maybe I pass it along, type of thing.
And that's the problem when nobody's trying to make money on this. We're not trying to do anything. So that's the tough part about trying to buy stuff in bulk so that we can save money on the individual items.
Mm-hmm.
But then needing to distribute is the tough part. So, like I say, if anybody is interested in getting like 10 of these things at a time, then email me at gunwebsites@gmail.com. With like the subject of Every Second Matters stickers, and I'll tell you guys next month. Like if I got 100 people listen to this over the course of the month, and then say, "Oh, I need stickers really bad. I'm willing to pay $1 a sticker," then we'll know maybe we should go get more stickers. But the thing is, I don't think they should cost $1 a sticker. I got a whole bunch of stickers made up just recently, and I can make them smaller. Maybe it's because of the size, but if we make them smaller, we can make them a little bit cheaper, maybe. But again, the killer starts to be shipping and stuff. So again, just let's start with this. Send me emails if you're even interested in stickers, because if we send this out to the world and 4 people are interested in stickers, then we know this isn't a pressing issue, right?
Right. Yeah, I'm going to include them in everything I sell on eBay, and I'm going to put a little note in there. Oh, yeah. That's why I want to get some printed up.
Well, let me ask this then, for you guys that have gotten stuff from me lately. I made up a bunch of the business cards, right, with a little scanned little graphic thing and all the web addresses and junk, and I made up these business cards and I include them every time somebody buys patches from me.
I love the business cards.
Have you? That's what I was going to ask. Did anybody get them? And then do they work? Is it something that's worth handing out? I mean, is that?
Yeah, I handed out a couple. I like the idea of the business cards.
Well, I also
like them.
The stickers. If you added those stickers into that patches, I'll take it off the watching list and buy one of them.
There you go. Yeah, the cards is nice. I just have one card, and it's awesome quality. The thing's like awesome looking. I'd like to have more.
Well, then maybe I'll go figure out how much they cost. I mean, I got them from wherever that place is, where you get those Vistaprint.
Vistaprint,
so
yeah.
It's not like they cost a fortune. I just have to figure out how much they cost. And again, maybe it'll be like, send me a self-addressed stamp envelope with $1 in it, and that's X amount of cards, 10 cards or whatever it comes out to, and then send me $2 in a self-addressed stamp envelope, and then I'll send out that many cards, because that's the whole point, is to have a bunch of cards you can hand out. On the other hand, I think I only paid like $9 for them, so you could just go to Vistaprint, pay the $9, and get a whole freaking stack of them, because I got like 500 of them or something.
Yeah, like 250 for $9, I think.
If Vistaprint only does that for like someone's first order, like you get your first order of business cards for like $10 for 500.
Oh, I didn't think of that.
If they do that, just let me know, because I've never ordered anything from Vistaprint, and I can order another 500, and it'll be that lower price. So you do it that way.
I don't think it is. I think they gave you a little bit of a discount maybe on shipping or something, but they're pretty cheap all the time, I think, now that I think about it. But and the other thing I like about the business cards is I've been taking them whenever I go hang out at a gun shop. I just slip them into, like, if they have a bulletin board, or if they've got like a place where they have whatever, handout type of stuff. I've been slapping them around, and I put one down face side up and the other one the other side up, so you can see the links or whatever. And same thing at gun shows. I kind of throw them around at gun shows.
Yeah, just look at a gun on somebody's table, and then when you put it back down, just stick a card under the cylinder. This gun was handled by gun websites, and every second matters.
Put it like in every book that you fondle.
Yeah. Yeah, just go to the library and like stick it in books.
But then you run into homeless people.
No, that's what you do. You pin that crap up everywhere. You pin ones up at the grocery store, wherever there's a corkboard, the post office. You know, why not? Someone see it. It'll affect someone.
What's the print link to get those cards?
Hmm?
Is there a link to get those cards that you guys were just talking about?
Not really. I was just saying I bought a bunch of them. I think Hosh made an order too. So I don't remember what they cost. I'd just go to Vistaprint. I think it's like $5 for the first 100 or something.
I think you get 250 for $9. Is I believe the going thing. I'm not. It's at least that or more or better. It's really cheap.
But what I've been doing is just because I got so many of them, I've been throwing them in with like eBay orders or when somebody buys a patch or whatever, and then that way, you know, it's a little something that they didn't ask for that's extra, and that's probably a gun guy if they're buying patches off of me.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully they're not just going to the garbage, but.
I've got all of mine except the 3 or 4 I've stuck up because nobody ever asked me what I'm carrying a gun for if I'm open carrying.
Yeah.
Like, that guy looks angry. We'll just leave him alone.
So, I mean, I guess we're kind of like, I don't, not to change subjects or anything. I was just wondering if anyone took advantage of the Labor Day deals that were out there, because there were some phenomenal gun buying opportunities this weekend and accessories. That's what got my attention all weekend. I was so caught up looking at that stuff. That's why I forgot about today. But there were some pretty good deals out there.
I don't believe in Labor Day. It's made by the communists, so I don't.
Well, I took advantage of it. You know, I'm supporting the gun people. the gun peeps. That Banshee chest rig, Tag is making it. Well, Shellback Tactical bought them out, but Tag still sells it, and it's on sale right now for $115. And they're gonna get some of those soft plates that guy that was on with Tac Daddy the other night. What was that? Armorware. Those soft ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just get some of the soft ones that were like 110 a piece, one for front, one for the back, but $115 and it's $5 shipping, and they have every color you want. You can't go. Made in the USA, 100%. And they got really good reviews for that thing. I recommend it. But that's a hell of a deal if you're looking for a plate carrier. I wasn't sure I was, but for 115, I am.
So you're saying people should walk around with an empty armor carrier on the second?
Well, that's the thing. Possibly. What's it like without the armor in there? It can't be that bad, right?
It's probably hot, but not as heavy for sure.
Right. I mean, it could work as a nice LBE then, right? Yeah. Either way. Either way. Trying to get...
try and make it all fashionable and call it a man purse type of thing.
Yeah. Put like a Fiorucci thing or some kind of...
Like Kosh's Merce that he carries around everywhere.
Right, right. I saw Gucci armor for $800 the other day. Supposed to level 3 class 3 Gucci armor.
Oh, I would think that's a hot item, man.
I'm telling you, need to,
You got that Gucci.
They're not dumb. Well, what are your options if you lived in New York? Well, what do they have any stupid armor laws in New York City? They probably do, don't they?
No, I don't think so.
So I would have to think. If let's say you had to live there.
You can have armor, but it can only be up to level 2A.
That's probably true. But if you had to live there for some reason, then that there's your one route. At least you could get yourself some body armor, protect you from the stray police bullets.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, at least the gangster's nowhere to hit. No, well, that ain't true either. But
Yeah, well, yeah, right. Yeah, the police hit you in the ass and the legs. God,
yeah, it's just
not good.
ridiculous.
Not good. Oh, did you see that Ferguson got donated all cameras to all their officers? Two
Yeah, I saw
companies.
that yesterday.
That's pretty cool that they did that. But, I mean, they should all have that.
I bet it wasn't somebody like Bill Gates or Bloomberg either.
No. I think they said it was two different companies, but there was enough for every single officer on their police force.
Now, don't they only have like 30-something officers, though?
I heard it
53.
was
53? Yeah, I mean, it's
So-
not like it's a huge department.
Yeah, but think about that. My police department can't have more than probably 15. So they should all have them if they're that affordable to be
I know
donated.
we're looking at them down here, and they're like $1,000 per set, like for one of them.
This one was kind of big. I don't want to say big. It was the size of what? Let's say it was about an inch by inch base, and then it had like a lens coming out the front, and they had to clip it on like a tie clip. So it certainly wasn't state of the art, but and then it had this big kind of.
What
kind of
people aren't
battery
understanding
case.
is you have to buy the camera first, then you have to have a place to store all that information from all the
Right,
video.
and they use independent.
No, it's not
there's-
just
I guess
buying a
there's an
camera.
independent place that does all that. It's kind of a service you buy, from what I understand, or not buy, but there's an independent place that downloads all the stuff,
Right.
and
Then you have
so
that.
that's why it's out of the cops' hands supposedly, so they can't tamper with it. That's why it's like that.
Well, either way, you have
that's-
the initial startup costs, and then you have the continuing costs, because this is going to be every cop that they should wear them, I think, as well. But you're talking about, say, a cop does 10, 12 hours a day, right?
Yeah. I know what you mean.
How many cops work per shift? And
But you
that's
really
a lot
do
of
have to-
info. And,
Oh
and
yeah, absolutely.
And then you also have to think of what the policy is to have that camera turn on. Like when do they turn that camera on? When do they
Well, it
not?
has to be turned on.
Right.
I think, and it's voice activated or something. But think about this, and this has got to be taken into the equation. Okay, what did 2 days of Ferguson cost that police department or the town? A couple $100,000, way more probably, right? So the price to actually, I know it's common sense to say this, but wouldn't it make sense because they expelled way more cash than the actual cost of probably all these cameras would have been anyway.
That's true, but also like you said, your police department has 15 officers, which would tell me you're not in a very big place that has a
No.
lot of revenue to spend money on cameras. So then they
Well,
also have to look
it's
at.
a big town. It has revenue enough, but I guess there's no call for it. I guess here, that's something you got to look at too. Like
Well,
a
I don't
Detroit
know.
or Ferguson, maybe.
Doesn't matter where you live, there should always be cameras.
I'm with you on that.
I agree. I agree with Stone. And wow, I've said it more times than I ever thought I would. But
Are you guys saying that you're advocating Big Brother having cameras? More
On
cameras?
cops, sure, shit, yeah. I don't have a problem with that at all. I think that would solve a lot of problems because it takes them. It's
I think
putting
people should just start
accountability
breaking
on
the
them
law.
finally.
That's just my view on it.
They're already recording us. Why not have it so there's something in our favor that way? It's not. I'm not saying it's a law
hey,
thing.
I recommend that everybody I talk to, whatever color, creed, or age, to record every incident they have with a police officer. You got a phone these days, you record that incident. Be as polite as possible, respect the gun and the badge, but record everything. The cops should have the same thing for their own safety, for their own purposes. Look at the departments that have implemented them have had a significant drop in false bad incident claims with cops, like 80%.
Right. It is a win-win, really, when you look at that sort of thing.
I mean, everybody walks around hating cops, and they may burn cops for they can burn the good ones for no good reason, right? So it shows both sides. I don't advocate Big Brother for anything really, but we have the technology and they're filming us anyway. Let's keep them as accountable as everybody else.
But exactly, and that's going to. I think it will benefit the public more. So when when they have a legitimate case, it's right there. That's, and like you said, the suits against the police are down. Police, they're going to act way different and better. They're going to have to act it because they know they're on camera.
Well, I think actually the people's encounters with cops will act the human element, the other side of the coin will act even better too, knowing that they're constantly being filmed.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, in the encounter. I mean, it's not. There are plenty. I wish we saw more good cops. No matter how much I dislike cops, and I do. Okay, but that's because of my own life's encounters with them, and most of them are bad because of me, right? So if there was a camera there and I was held accountable for my actions encounters with the cops before I learned to respect that gun and badge, it definitely would have went differently, right? It wouldn't have took me as long to learn to respect the gun and the badge and don't worry about the person underneath.
We're getting calls from the audience who's too afraid to join to change the subject back to something with a second. I'd say that I would think that the concept, at least, isn't completely foreign to the Second Amendment, at least as respects to the Bill of Rights, maybe more. But I really don't agree with you guys, honestly. I don't want to change the subject and then throw something out there, but I'll just wing something out there at the end. I just get scared because it seems to me like more Big Brother with more cameras.
Okay. I mean, I just think they're in the cars anyway. That's the thing. That's all I say.
People are going to end up starting to complain when they realize how much it's costing them.
I think they ought to be camera. If they're going to have a camera in the car, there ought to be a car on the officer and on the camera, or in the cruiser, because
Right.
the camera on the officer the camera on the officer can catch a lot of things, but only what's in front of him. And there's other things than what happened directly in front of the officer. Yeah, they need. If they're going to have them, they need both.
Right. And again, not to stay on the topic, but I'm amazed at how much. I mean, it really does capture a lot of info because it's got the audio too.
I'm also thinking, cops get into a lot of scuffles in that. How durable are these cameras that break?
They're pretty good. I see
happen.
There's hundreds of departments across the world that implement these point of view cameras.
So if that was a problem, that'd be fine.
I don't know. That's why I'm just shooting
I'm sure they're great. I mean,
well, I can only say from a video I saw, right, that changed my mind. Why I thought, because I'm not a big camera fan either, or cop fan, but when I saw this point of view, it looked like you saw one point of view from the car. It looked like the cop beat the crap out of this guy for no reason, right? And then you saw the point of view of the personal cam on the cop, and you saw that he got jacked in the face 3 times first. That you couldn't see it in the car.
That's why I think you need both.
And he was so professional in that this guy jacked him bad. He calmed him down. He laid him down, and he finally got him hooked up, and saved both of their lives. He could have shot that dude, right, if he kicked him away or something. But that camera showed that he had every right to handle it as professionally as he did, or whatever. Because this guy had a needle in his hand, because he was busting him for heroin or something. Yeah, it could have went real bad, and that different perspective changed my mind on the whole thing. Seeing what the cop had to put up with.
Mm-hmm. Well, now to get off of that, when I build my back to get on the Every Second Matters, when I get my 308 AR-15, I'm going to have the Every Second Matter logo Duracoated into the stock.
There you go. Laser engraving, my friend.
Either laser engraved or
you get some points for that, but it should have been Cerakoted for full points.
Yeah.
I don't care about Cerakote. Duracoat's fine.
The Duracoat is fine.
Yeah. And the dude I know will do it for like $200, so I'm good.
Oh,
give me the stencil, I'll do it for half that.
I already promised him I would let him do it when I get it done.
No, that's fine. I'm not into detail work like that. I'm a big
and that's if I even want to do a camo. Like if I want to do like a digital camo, he said $200 for that too. So.
Let me ask something that I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt and go back to a topic that I asked for us to switch topics on, but I'm going to ask the audience because there might be people out there that can find this because I'm not finding it. Do you guys remember back a while ago now, months and months ago, at least, maybe even a year ago or more, there was this picture from, I forget what the rally was, but it was a bunch of people that had brought their long arms to a rally, and they were sitting and kneeling and whatever, kind of hunched over like you would to take a group picture, or like with a banner. And there was like this one angle where it was from behind the people, and it looked like a bunch of predators with guns, like lurking at these protesters or whatever it was. But if you actually stood by the protesters and looked at these gun owners, you would see that they had like a big ass sign that said something like, "We support you and we're gun owners," and they were crowding together to take a picture. And like literally, it was two versions of the same group of gun owners, and one of them was used by anti-gunners to say, "Here's a bunch of gun-owning assholes that showed up to protest this, other protest." And then it wasn't until somebody had come, brought to light that other picture from the other point of view or the other perspective, where it was like, oh, actually they were there in support of the whole event, saying that they were gun owners and and standing appropriately together and by themselves and safely. Anyway, does anybody remember that photo? And if so, can you link me to it?
I remember it was Moms. It was when the Mom started, and it was Texas Open Carry.
Okay, thank you. And then if you guys remember the picture, I don't even need the picture, but if you remember that instance, that I guess is why I'm afraid of cameras, because they can be a crutch that people can use to your advantage or your disadvantage just as easily. And now I believe that it's all going to always be the individual's responsibility and to some extent the lawyer's finesse. And I just don't see cameras being like some end to the just complicated way the world is.
But I just like to say that what G-Web said is, there's a big difference between a still image
and a video is a lot more info.
Exactly.
I understand. Don't kill my example, though. I'm just using that as something that we've all seen. That's an obvious example of like how a literal picture, like 1,000 words, can be wrong and can be used fucked up wise. And I'm not saying it's going to be used by cops or by the good guys, but I'm just saying if you give a cop a radar gun, do they figure out how to shoot it at their own air ducts and get a 75 mile per hour reading so they can pull anybody they want over? And did they figure that out? Was it part of the user manual, or did they figure it out by just being bored and sitting there, shooting it at parts of their own car accidentally? So I'm just saying, if you give a cop a dirty, let me see, put it this way: if you give a dirty cop a camera, why would you think that dirty cop is going to let that camera record him being dirty? He's going to figure out really freaking fast when he lives with that thing how to spill coffee on it or how to do whatever it needs to be done so that you can still bitch slap somebody inappropriately or do something mean to somebody without the camera seeing it. And if we rely on the camera to be some like overlord for us to tell us what's right and wrong, we're putting that power in the wrong place. And I apologize for going backwards on something like that. But
no, that's good.
As Dano would say, we'll agree to disagree.
I think what's going to come down to is we all ought to have cameras. Everybody wear the Google Glass. Everybody gets one. At birth, you get a pair of Google glasses.
I see it as a different form of as Big Brother, and I just see it benefiting a lot. And I believe there are safeguards out there. But again, it's all good.
But then sometimes when you try to record the cops, they get all shitty. Don't fucking record me. You can't do that.
So on the Outdoor Channel this week on the NRA All Access, it was really cool to see. They did a good 15 minutes on Bloomberg and all the bullshit. And it was a really cool show to see him kind of, of course it's the NRA All Access show, but it was really good to at least have that out on TV and talking about what he's doing and the money he's putting into it and how it's also been backfiring on him a little bit, but at least bringing it to light.
I was shocked to see a NRA ad during one of the preseason NFL football games a couple weeks ago.
That's nice.
I couldn't believe that.
Was it local or national? Yeah. And what kind of ad?
I don't know if it was just a local ad that was on the NFL Network because they were doing a televising the game or what, but I'm pretty sure it was on the NFL Network during. I can't remember what game it was though, but it was a whole. Why would you? It was about Bloomberg, spending millions of dollars trying to, take everybody's rights away. But I was really surprised to see it on national TV.
It might have been allowed because it was anti-political. It was a political ad basically. So.
Well, I saw it on Fox. Guns too.
I saw one on Fox a couple of hours ago during the Kelly thing. whatever her name is, Kelly File or whatever.
Megan
And
Kelly?
I bounced over to see the Pretty Blonde, and I saw Colin Noir instead. So he was on Fox, with a commercial on Fox, national, cable, whatever, you know. And it was Colin Noir speaking. It's the only reason why I was expecting Kelly, and I saw him. I was like, I guess I'll stop for a minute. And it was an NRA commercial that he does.
Yeah, because the NFL does have strict policies on ads that can be run during their games, so.
Yeah, preseason doesn't really count. There's like no rule. It probably doesn't have the same rules.
It doesn't have the same rules.
Network.
It has rules.
It was on the NFL's personal cable channel.
Yeah, well, there you go. I mean, you've seen it, so obviously.
That's what really surprised me the most.
So there you go.
No, but at the same time, like even though like if it's on like a national network, like half of those commercials are local commercials and half of them are national commercials, and you'll never know which one's which, unless someone else in a different area tells you that they saw the same one.
No, I understand what you're saying. That you see the local ads a lot. But hey, at least they're still on there.
It wasn't a football game from around here though. It was like the same. I want to say it was Green Bay and somebody or Dallas and somebody.
The commercials are bought by the network itself, and they're also bought by
servicing your county.
Cable provider of your area.
Correct.
My guess, so the reason it was during that game, there was no commercials for stores around here.
I just want to say they're pretty strict on the thing. NRA is not selling guns, so that's probably why they were able to run the ad.
Possibly. But like, yeah, there were like ads for restaurants that are nowhere around my part of the country. So it had to be. It could have been an ad for wherever the game was being held at.
Yeah,
I really wish I could remember where it was or who it was.
It wasn't Thursday Night Football. The Green Bay Packers. Who were they playing?
No, it was like a Saturday.
Okay.
A couple weeks ago, because it was before college started.
That's what happens when your city sucks.
You
watch college football. You watch college sports.
You know, I watch college football because we have the greatest football team in the land.
We don't have a pro team.
All right,
Yeah,
we're not talking about the NFL network. Every second matters. It's the ultimately.
Well, Stone Guy left because we weren't talking about James Yeager enough. Stone Guy wanted to talk about James Yeager.
That's the one. I'm with the James Yeager now.
They're talking about what the hell James Yeager was talking about, so Stone Guy had to leave and call him. Like, James, they're talking bad about you over there.
But no, I mean, it's the question is good, even if you don't want to talk about his. I mean, what the hell is the difference between the gun community and gun culture and gun whatever? You know what I'm saying?
You can't say that gun culture is not part of is not in the gun community. It's a part.
Well, did he just say? Is that what he said?
I didn't see his video, and there's got to be other people out there that didn't see the video. So somebody summarize the video for us.
It wasn't a video, I don't think. I think it was just a statement.
No, it wasn't. It was a video. It's like
I thought he did a whole
last
video on it. Or you're saying Artisan Tony did a whole video on it?
Oh, Artisan Tony did one? Yeah.
That's
no,
weird.
Yeager just said that, in fact, his quote from his Facebook page was, the gun community is a bunch of politically correct gun-owning pussies. The gun culture are unapologetic gun owners. And that was all he posted.
Okay. So that's a little...
Well, no, that's okay.
out there.
That was it.
That clarifies a lot, actually.
Yeah. Well...
And then
But at the
Artisan
same time,
Tony
at that
put
point,
out
like,
a video about that.
I think he's definitely applying like his own
Wicked boy.
definition.
Dano just posted the link to Yeager's video along with the time mark if you want to take a look at it.
All right.
Oh, Yeager did put up a video?
Yeah,
So
Yeager put up a video where he said the gun culture, I despise the gun culture or something like that, or something. I just watched it. I don't remember the exact quote, so you'd be better off just watching it and coming up with your own conclusion.
The NRA's got a bunch of videos out that are pretty good.
Videos or commercials?
Well, it's a commercial. I mean, there will be commercials, but I think all the videos are on YouTube.
No, that's a link to his Support Red Jacket video.
And that's where he made the statement, was in the Support Red Jacket video, right? Because he was talking about supporting the rest of the family, fuck whatever that dude did, you know, that his name will no longer come out of my mouth. But what what he did is evil, and he's going to have to deal with it, right? But Jaeger was trying to say, don't take it out on the rest of that gun company, because those were good people, a lot of them who didn't know what the hell was going on.
Oh yeah, I got that. I just couldn't remember. I didn't remember him saying.
And it was more of a throwaway line. It wasn't, Jaeger. He talks off the top of his head,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't actually know the guy, but from every video I've ever seen and the chats I've seen him on, I think I can get a pretty good read for him. And he just, he speaks his fucking mind. He doesn't script it, And that's the line he threw off because that's the way he thinks about it. And then obviously he clarified it in his Facebook page.
I just saw that. He said, "Let's show him at the gun culture, not the gun community, which I despise." That's what he said in that video, really.
And I can understand that point of view in a lot of ways.
Well, yeah.
Actually, I can, so. Thanks for clearing it up, though. I didn't know, I'm not a Facebook friend of his, so.
Yeah, me either, actually. The Facebook.
The Instagram is where it's at.
I always say that now, buddy. I'm always like, hey, you on the Instagrams?
I get yelled at so much for saying the cuss every time of the day.
I still can't even find your Instagram shit. So.
Oh, mine?
So yeah, because saying the gun culture is not even ours. The libs refer to the gun culture as Americans' dated and underlying love for guns. But I have a dated and underlying love for guns, I think.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think you can be part of both, but it doesn't make them. They're not mutually exclusive. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's why I thought that Jaeger had come out with a video clarifying what he meant by that, but I think he kind of needs to.
I don't know. Maybe it's it's kind of like what Webbs would say. It's like they got us talking about something that against each other, which sucks.
Mhm.
Well, I don't think James sat around thinking like, how am I going to divide people?
Yeah, exactly.
I just think he was trying to explain something, and it came out, and then people want clarification on that little facet.
Mm-hmm. As we're kind of thinking, yeah. Yes.
So I got a question. In Florida, we don't have open carry here. So to do like something for every second matters. I heard G-Whip said something about wearing like an empty holster or something like that, but that kind of throws it out there to everybody that you might be carrying, and that may be not something that I want to put out there. What else do you guys think would be something to do to kind of get the message out there, and maybe like a T-shirt, I guess.
Yeah, the T-shirt.
That's a T-shirt.
That's what I do. I do T-shirts because you can't open carry in Illinois.
It's not always, everybody's got their own what they're bringing to the game or whatever. So it's not about going out being in your face necessarily. It's just about starting more conversations. So the idea of an empty holster or a logo or whatever is to spur a conversation, to create the interest. But you can spark that in all different ways. Maybe just,
Yeah, Facebook
you
stuff.
that show last night. You ever think about the guns they used on? I don't know. Something like, transition into guns.
Yeah.
The day is bigger than you, John.
Well, I can think of one time when I first met a friend of mine, a good friend of mine. When we first met, we were in a job where neither one of us, we were in a room with other employees, and even though we had to talk to each other and we ended up kind of shooting the breeze, guns never came up until one day when it was like a situation where there weren't all the other employees around. He was basically my assistant manager. I was able to say something like, I think I accidentally, or maybe whatever, I just said something like, "Oh, I'll be shooting that weekend." He was like, "What do you mean shooting?" And then we discovered that we're both into shooting. But you know what I mean, because of the I don't want to say corporate environment, because it wasn't really a corporation or anything. It's just because of the job, we just it wasn't opportune to just start talking about guns right in the middle of everything. So it just never came up. So that's I guess part of the impetus of the whole thing was, if there would have been that one little thing to spark conversation, then maybe when you're on a smoke break or you meet the guy in a different situation outside of work or something, then you can go, oh yeah, we're both gun people, and maybe it's somebody who's not into guns, and then you start coming up with the idea maybe you want to go to the range with me or something.
Yeah, I have a couple friends that were like that, and I worked with them for 5+ years before anything like that came up, and then now we're like regular range buddies. But in Fort Lauderdale, I mean, I'm near the city, so I guess if I was further away from the city, an open holster, maybe you wouldn't have people flipping out. But so close to the city, people are, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody called the cops for having an open holster, an empty holster. Wouldn't
I don't
surprise
need
me.
to push you or anything, but like I think that for me, sometimes I don't want to go around pissing people off, but at the same time, it like Mule was talking about earlier, it's sometimes good for me to get into places where people aren't as pro-gun, because I feel like I can have more conversations, I can get that message out better, just because you're just I feel like I'm preaching to the choir too much sometimes.
Well
Yeah.
said, G.
You got force the encounter in a way. I see what you're saying. That makes sense. That's why I use it at work a lot, because I know that a couple of them are anti-gun and they don't even realize it.
At the same time, like, you don't have to get into a scream match with the person. I mean, if the person's an idiot and irate, then just walk away, be the bigger person, But at least, for that split second, you had it, you were willing to engage the conversation. It was the other person who was the asshole. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, down here that would be like any local Starbucks. I think they smell me or something when I come in. They're like, oh, there's a right-wing nut job.
Yeah, but that's where I've learned, politeness matters, right? No matter what you do. If you're out there and you're wearing a gun shirt or you're wearing an open holster and you're doing this to make a little bit of a statement and hopefully somebody acknowledges that, then be as polite as possible. Even to the ones, like you said, Marco, that are nut job assholes that are ready to spit in your face at Starbucks, you turn around and walk away. You show yourself to everybody else that you're not the nut job they want you to be.
Right.
Or what you should do is walk away and then pay for their coffee
that
and
should be
make them look like a real asshole.
That was perfect. Like, don't be the nut job they want you to be.
Right.
And carry openly.
Right, open carry.
And tomorrow, what was it? And today is not yesterday.
Matters.
What did you say? The future is not yesterday.
Since it's every second matters and we're full in here, we don't. If you guys are in the middle of something, I'm kind of stepping in and out. But let's talk about open carry long guns. See where everybody falls on that. Or is that too controversial?
Ooh, this challenge has been sprung.
Well, I don't know if open carry stripped receivers count DP.
Oh, go ahead. But I can actually like this. Like, what's really funny? So Maryland's one of those may issue states, and we have laws on on not being able to carry pistols. But the only thing that we can carry in the state without a permit, because you obviously can't even get the permit, is you are legally allowed to open carry a long gun, loaded.
Well,
because there is no law saying that you can't. There's not one saying that you can, but there's not one written saying that you can't.
Some people would say you should never open carry a long gun ever for this situation.
And the state of Maryland has actually gone to court and said, in federal court, we are okay, that we should be allowed to continue our May issue because any Maryland resident, if they wanted to, could open carry a long gun. So that's our form of carry that's available to every citizen.
Did they really say that?
Yep, in federal court, in the Woolard case.
Then yeah, I definitely think that the people of Maryland, because I know if I have a few friends over there, yeah,
but
you guys should.
No one dares do it. No one dares to do it because you'll get arrested for everything else. You'll be arrested for disturbing the peace. You'll be arrested for, from what I found out from an FFL, he couldn't cite it to me, but he told me he looked it up, and there's some federal game law thing or whatever, so it would have to be under 5 rounds. I don't know.
Well, that's where you grab a shotgun, right? It's going to take somebody being arrested and having him go to court.
All my guns are extendos.
You know what I'm saying? And it's usually that way, right? That's the only way we got. Well, that's part of the reason why we were able to get concealed carry here in Illinois is because people got arrested, went to court, and they started fighting. Fighting these laws. And for me, I'm okay with open carry. I'm a true Second Amendment. I don't see any restrictions in those words of the Second Amendment of the Bill of Rights. Right? I don't see age restrictions. I don't see magazine restrictions. I don't see open carry, concealed carry restrictions. I don't see them. I don't see restrictions in that. It's pretty simple.
I would include training in that as well.
Everything else is being read
into. I do see one restriction in the Second Amendment.
The sporting clause. The sporting clause.
No, the restriction of the government to infringe on any of our constitutionally protected rights.
Yeah, that's the only one. That's the only restriction in the Second Amendment is the government restriction. They're not allowed to infringe. So I'm all for it.
Then, can I ask a request afterwards? I'm just wondering, I don't know if it's too far off the subject, but has anyone ever actually open carried in public, like a long gun, or seen anyone else open carry a long gun in public?
No, not in my state.
I have, down at our courthouse.
I guess I have, but more no.
Many times, countless times.
Yeah, I've more as a kid than any time since like 25. But yeah, once I moved up the West Coast, no. But
remember the old, the old gun racks in the trucks? That was just a staple.
Yeah, well, even as a kid growing up in New York City, right? I lived in Queens, so that's not exactly the city. But we used to go down to the train yards, and we used to bring our 22s. These are kids. We were 10, 11, right? And we used to go from our neighborhood to the train yards to shoot rats during the day. And nobody ever stopped us carrying my little Marlin Model 60.
Yeah. It's raining here bad now.
But that was, you're talking 1970.
Yeah, my dad grew up in the city in the 40s. He was born in 32, so they did all kinds of crazy shit back then.
No, it wasn't crazy. It's just
America wasn't
programmed to be afraid of guns.
Right, normal stuff.
I mean, it wasn't that big of a deal. Now we have to deal with overpopulation.
Well,
Sorry, go ahead, G.
Well, I was going to say, when you're talking the early 70s like that, that's when they pretty much just implemented those gun laws in 68. So they're just getting used to them for one. The police weren't used to enforcing them for a second. The older generation for a third wasn't scared yet, so they didn't care if they seen a kid walking around with a 22. And, for all those reasons, why would they care if you're walking around with a 22? Because they had no reason to fear that. It wasn't until that became less of a common sight that then it went out of people's minds, and we know how long our attention span is. Yeah. And then now it's a generation later, and we've never experienced that. A lot of us haven't experienced that. So
see, yeah, my grandpa wouldn't have thought twice about, like, when I was 8 or 9 or 10 carrying around a 22 rifle, because from the stories he used to tell, he used to deliver. His dad made moonshine and sold it to the miners down in Kentucky, and he always told the story. He used to carry a 32 pocket pistol when he was 12, because he used to deliver the moonshine to the mines. And he'd been carrying a gun since he was 12 years old. So he didn't think twice about that. But he was 90 years old when he died, so I mean he did that for a long time. He never thought twice about it. It's just how you grow up and what you've seen, how you view that.
That's why I've asked a couple of guys I know who live in Arizona to just show, one day go out, and I've encouraged a couple, nobody's taking me up on it, but to go out and show what it looks like at the AM/PM, show what it looks like walking around the Walmart, show what it looks like when you're walking through town, because they tell me they carry their gun on their hip all day, right? Open carry usually, some do both, concealed carry sometimes and open into others, but I would like to just see how nobody reacts, you know what I mean? Because I know people would lose their fucking mind up here in Illinois, if somebody walked around with a gun in their hip and you're not a cop. I mean, the concealed carry is doing okay because not everybody is, people are still getting concealed carry. But I couldn't imagine open carry around here. People lose their minds. I'd love to see what it looks like where it's normal. You know what I mean?
So
I
look-
grew up without it being a common thing. So when I first moved out here, it took me 2 people to get used to it. I can almost, I mean, if I put my mind to it, maybe I'll think more. But I can remember the first time I saw somebody walking around with a gun, and then I had, whatever. I didn't do anything because they weren't doing anything. They were just walking around with a gun. And then I think it was that time between that time and the next time I had asked somebody, what was the deal? Somebody had a gunshot probably. And then the second time I saw it, it was like with a friend from school, and they commented on it, and I was able to say, oh yeah, that's normal out here, that's fine. And then I guess from that point on, I just noticed it more. But the first time was because it was like at a store, grocery store or something, where the person was in front of me, and I just happened to be in such close proximity that I had to look at them. I had to notice it. But once I was aware of it, then I started looking around, and I guess I'd just been oblivious to it. So definitely can be easily as common as like wearing cowboy boots or wearing a cowboy hat or whatever.
Or anything. Say wearing a merce in New York City. It could be the same kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. It just blends in. And it's, it might have been worse in the day when everybody wore a suit and tie or something, or it might have been more obvious or something back then, but in the 90s, come on, that changed everything. There is no majority of what people wear anymore.
Right. Well, I would love to see somebody do that kind of a video, just walking around, anywhere, and showing how it's just normal, right? Nobody even pays attention to it. Nobody's losing their mind every 2 steps, nobody's freaking out and going, oh my God, that man's got a gun. Like you hear all the lefties talk about over in, the Ivy Leagues or whatever, their ivory towers or whatever, where they're constantly saying how that, anytime you see somebody carrying a gun, open carry, scream and call a cop. You never see anybody do that in Arizona. You don't see it in Vermont. You're not seeing it in Arkansas now, because Arkansas now has constitutional carry, right? Or open carry with a concealed carry permit. I think my buddy Casey was telling me.
But that's more of a thing of culture more so than anything. It's because, like G-Web says, like he walks around anywhere he wants to, and the likelihood of him seeing it it's very likely. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to see that in L.A. City. You're not going to see that in New York City. So it's more. It would have to become legal before it would actually become normalized.
I think the problem with the open carry thing is that, like some people said, is that it's so easy for people to say that there's no purpose to it, there's no point to it. I think a lot of people, even in the gun community, believe that. And then people also think that they're willing to allow laws to pass just because they're like, oh, well, I guess it doesn't really matter if people can open carry or not. And so people are like, yeah, I'm against that.
G-Web, it sounds like we got a smart one on our team, man.
Well, what's funny is in Florida, I think around...
G-Web's your mic. You got a lot of feedback. G-Web's.
My mic isn't even on.
Oh, well, no, well, you were coming up big time.
I know I'm coming up big time, but let's talk about the chat.
I think prior to like 1986, I want to say Florida did have open carry, and then they were gonna change the law to concealed carry, and all the big sheriffs from all the counties got together and said, no, we want open carry because we don't want to have to deal with hidden guns, and it was fought out in the courts, and eventually it did go to concealed carry. Just in, I think 2010, we had it went to our Congress again, with Marion Hammer was fighting for the NRA, trying to get open carry, reinstated, and the same sheriffs from the same counties were then arguing, no, we want concealed. We don't want everybody walking around like the Wild West.
Well, I think
So
a lot
in
of
Florida,
it. Go ahead.
In Florida, you can't open carry anything. Not
Unless
even
you're
long guns.
fishing, camping.
Right. Or on your way to the shooting range.
No,
or obviously.
I'm pretty sure you can carry long guns. Let me check real quick.
No, you can't. I'm looking at it now. At least on Wikipedia. I know they're a little bit left.
What I was going to say is I think the freak out factor has a lot to do with how the person that's open carrying's dressed too. I mean,
Well,
if you,
That's bullshit.
well,
no, it's not. If you walk into a restaurant and you're dressed in a dress shirt and a tie and a gun,
It is a real social thing, but the actual concept of it, I would say, like, I don't agree. You know what I'm saying?
no,
Yes,
I
do agree
know
people
I
it's.
do
gotta
it.
side with digital on this one, so go ahead though.
Well, if you walk into a place and you're wearing a dress shirt and a tie,
Yeah.
and dress pants, a belt, you got your holster on,
I
not
I
many
agree
people are
with you,
going to
but
look at you. You
I'm
walk
also not
into
going
a
to
place with your pants around your knees, your underwear hanging out, a wife beater T-shirt, your hat on half sideways, and you've got a gun. People are going to look at you a hell of a lot different.
Hold on. Do we say you can be a woman and vote and shit, but you got to wear a burqa, or do we say you can be gay or whatever, but you can't wear your weird gay clothes? You got to wear
I'm
normal
not saying
person
it's
clothes or
right.
something?
I'm just saying that's how it is.
Kill two stereotypes at the same time. What if I'm trying to do that? What if I'm trying to kill two stereotypes at the same time? One for the gun culture, the gun community, whatever James Yeager doesn't like, those people at the same time as the anti-gunner.
No, I'm not saying it's right to view people as different because of the clothes they're wearing, but that's how it's going to be. If you're dressed like a gangbanger and somebody sees you have a gun,
Hey,
they're
but the
going to look at
problem
you
is,
different.
but the thing is though, every single gangbanger in this country has a right that the Constitution guarantees them to own a firearm.
Exactly.
Unless
Until
they
they pull
become
out
a
and start shooting somebody.
Until
Yeah.
then, and it's the same way that we're not going to stand for the anti-gunners to put it on us. We cannot stand to be. We shouldn't be doing that to anybody else either.
Well, I'm not saying it's good that people do that, but people do that.
No,
I'm
think
going to stand with Prophet on that one and say every once in a while we got to take a black eye. I am sure that there are examples that we can all say, look down and shade our eyes because the example is so poor. It's not such a great example, but we can't. I think that we do ourselves a disservice when we start putting those ifs and ands and whens on who can carry.
No, I'm not saying who can carry. I'm just saying that people look at people if they see they're carrying a gun differently depending on how they're dressed. I'm not saying it's right.
Isn't it just as good for the gun cause and maybe even better for the gun cause if we don't all look like freaking cops and if you can look like a skater kid or some kind of a punk or some kind of a gangster or some kind of
or a biker.
Exactly.
Great.
Or whatever it is you want to be. Wear your gun. I want people to be like little old lady, getting groceries. They might have a gun. I don't want it to have to be like you got to, wear a tie and be aware. I understand that you can give a good impression, but at the same time, when we turn on ourselves, I don't think we're doing ourselves a
No, and I don't
service.
mean to turn on anybody. I just mean that that's how some people look at it. I mean, if I see somebody with a gun,
Well, we're not disputing that, but I'm saying that we do ourselves a disservice. I think as what are we supposed to call ourselves? A culture now? Whatever. We're doing ourselves a disservice if we are going to alienate everybody that we don't like doing. I mean, drivers, you don't get to say, I really enjoy driving every day, but what I don't like is those kids that drop their cars, or I don't like those guys with the big four-wheelers. I don't like people that own military vehicles, but everybody else is okay to drive. We don't put these requirements on everything else. It's just the guns where we have to get over freaking sensitive, over politically correct, and over worried about everything. And that might have been, I'm going to put words in Yeager's mouth, that might have been what he was kind of talking about, is that we feel like we have to put on airs and we have to be perfect because we got our gun on. And if we got our gun on, we got to be like this representative of the whole thing. Well, guess what? People are allowed to make mistakes and be dumb and wear a dumb shirt or not be in style or whatever and still have a firearm.
Yeah.
And anyway, I think it does this. If we just start seeing all kinds of people wearing firearms all the time, that's where it comes back into where we're used to seeing them. Like you guys said, they made them illegal, and then you didn't see people with firearms. And then when you don't see people with firearms, it becomes scary to think about a person with firearms. But if you go the other way around, and it's not scary to be around with people with firearms, why would it be illegal? So we're stuck right now, but we can get past it. And I still say, I think it's encouraging to look back and say, most of our country's lifespan, we've been fine with firearms. It's just the last 30 or 40 years that we've really been warped, and I believe that's been pushed on us. So we should be able to push that right back off of us. We're free people.
Yep. I mean, I usually don't even notice if I see somebody that's got a gun on, as long as they're not trying to pull it out and start shooting somebody. I don't I don't like stare them down the whole time I'm around them either. I just like, oh, that guy's carrying a Glock, and oh,
Until
he's
you see
carrying a
that tattoo.
1911.
Well, I'm
Well,
just
I think
wondering, you deal with it on a daily basis, G. When you go to Walmart, when you go to McDonald's, Burger King, Sonic, whatever, right? So it's a daily thing for you. So you've seen guys dressed like ghetto gangsters that are open carrying, and you've seen people that are dressed in suits. Does it cause any ruckus to anybody in the area around you because they're used to it? Or did I just freeze up?
So I live in
No,
Arizona.
I'm sorry, I walked away. That's an excellent question. Thank you so much, because that's the thing. I can see like a biker is the perfect example, because nobody likes bikers. Everybody hates bikers, right?
I
So
love
I can
bikers.
see like a biker guy walk into a bank
Well,
with a
thanks.
freaking gun on his outside. Well, I'm just saying, most time everybody can agree like bikers are always the bad guy, or like bikers are always the guys causing trouble or whatever. So all I'm saying is you don't find very many lovable bikers to the rest of the world or whatever. So anyway, all I'm saying is I've seen bikers in banks before with guns on, and nobody even bats an eye. And that's just because people are so dang used to it, or they just don't care out here, or whatever. But it definitely can happen, and it's not like it's an unfathomable thing, for sure.
I think it depends on where you live. I mean, because there's some
course.
places. There's some
But
places.
it
I mean,
doesn't. We're not forced to that. It is where we live because we all live under laws
Right.
that have come to be. But the same way that they've came to be, they can come to not be, and then it can change. So guaranteed,
'cause
every
if-
place in this country at one point, people walked around with Kentucky rifles open.
Oh, sure.
Trust me, nobody could sling those things. You had to carry them around. So at some point, every part of this country, you walked around with open long arms, and then it's changed since then.
And I think you have to go to the core of the issue is at this point it's not really necessary to walk around with a rifle, but that
Love
doesn't
it.
mean
I'll take that one on. Or is
yeah.
Marco going to do it? It's
You
not
know, it just
necessary to
doesn't
wear
matter.
I'll
work
do
shoes.
it.
It's not necessary
No,
to
I
have
mean, it's
shoes
just
that
not
cost
for
more
your
than a house. It's not necessary to have a belt that wears more than a house.
You know what I'm
I can
saying?
think of a
It's not-
couple of
I
guys on
don't need to
Instagram
carry
that
around
have
a
watches
rifle.
that cost more than my
I got a
vehicle.
handgun instead. Well, what I'm saying is I don't need to carry around a rifle. Handgun's fine right now.
You
But
can
so
say
at
that.
its core, it doesn't matter. It's fine to carry it around. It should be fine to carry it around.
Hey,
You
when we
can't
got
just
ISIS
say
and
because of the
ISIS.
situation.
But
That's
see,
what
what
I'm
that's,
saying.
but put it like this, like that's one of our biggest weaknesses as gun owners, because as long as it applies to us, it's right. As long as we can apply it to our own personal lives, it's okay, and we really don't see reason in other people's actions. So like us as gun owners, I always see like us having a really hard time of putting ourselves in other Americans' shoes and taking that perspective from other Americans, and then just saying, okay, I really don't give a shit because the Second Amendment is as free as it could possibly be, like how Mule said earlier. So many times we just say, well, because I can carry a pistol, I really don't care, or I don't make an effort, or I don't, I can care less if open carrying a long gun is even legal.
Well, that's why, like, I support Open Carry Texas, even though I'm not from Texas, right? I don't live there, right? But I support them as best I can. Why? Because they have a situation where they can only open carry long guns, right? That's where they can't open carry a handgun, but they can legally open carry a long gun. So they're trying to get that changed. So that's why they're doing that in Texas. That's why you see the Kroger picture. That's why you saw the picture that G was talking about very early in this chat. That was the only reason why they had out their long guns was because they could not open carry handguns. And even when people tried to follow the law, because there's a cut in the law, right, where you can open carry a black powder handgun, and one before like 1870, whatever. But if you try and carry that, people were still getting arrested. The only way they didn't get arrested for openly carrying a gun in Texas was by carrying a long gun. So you got to support them everywhere you can so we can get it overturned nationwide. It's funny how in the Second Amendment it's the only thing that the federal government allows states' rights to rule on. Isn't that kind of a surprise or a shocker?
It is.
Thinking about it.
Well, what's even more amazing is how the government has twisted the definition of the Second Amendment as if it's there for hunting or something like that. And no, it's in there as like a last resort in case we need to take the government back and reinstate new government.
Yeah, I think there's
Written right in there.
that was put into it when it was founded, but I don't think that there's any inherent meaning to it other than the fact that citizens can, own, carry, whatever, with whatever firearms they want for whatever purpose, and I think that's the Second Amendment. Not that it needs to be used against the government, if it needs to be used for hunting, if it needs to be used, whatever. It's just we have the firearms, we can do whatever we want with them.
And in the law of New Hampshire, I believe it says that someone else's uncomfortableness does not outweigh my right to carry.
Exactly.
So too bad.
But that's the funny thing. That's where places like Arizona and Vermont and Alaska and places like that, where most people, once they become numb to it, they're no longer uncomfortable with it, right? If they see it every day, if they see firearms on everybody, when they're picking up their kids from school, when they're in their grocery store, when they're stopping to get gas, and they see just everyday people having guns, right? Then it's gonna be like everyday people having phones. Right? Nobody's going to even see it anymore. Just like people that live in those places where they can do that don't even see it anymore. They don't notice when they go to the bank and there's a guy standing in front of them with a gun. They're not thinking the guy's going to rob it.
Yep, definitely there. I agree with you there.
Okay, so on the point of it's uncomfortable, like you're uncomfortable to see somebody else, or because I'm uncomfortable seeing somebody else have a firearm, then I suggest, what about on Christmas, where I'm sure, in a melting pot country like this, there's got to be, I don't know, at least a semi-significant portion of the population that don't give a shit about Christmas, the religious holiday or the commercial part of it, and yet try to exist in this country without dealing with Christmas.
But there are a lot of people that try to change that too.
I hear you, but I'm just saying. But that's another instance where just because you might have all kinds of reasons why you don't like something, sorry, that doesn't mean that nobody else can do their thing. As long as they're not hurting you somehow, then they can do their thing. And we don't, you could carry around shovels that, I don't know, smell like poop or something, and somebody could be like, well, that offends me. You're like, well, but I have the right to carry around my shovel that smells like poop. So, we allow them to have that, to add that stigma to guns, that there's some perceived violence about to happen just because a gun exists.
I always think it's funny how they feel like it's being forced on them. How it's like, because I carry a gun now, you have to, it's, I think the kind of Christmas example is a little different because they kind of feel like, well, because you're doing it, that means I have to do it, where it's like, because I carry a gun doesn't mean you have to carry a gun. I'll never tell someone that they have to carry a gun.
Right.
Well, I live in Fort Lauderdale, so I've told a couple people that they
You've
should.
never had a real Christmas probably because you don't even know what snow is.
So then, do you guys think that it's beneficial when people go around? Do you guys think it's a good thing when someone like, I don't know, Open Carry Texas, or just some guy by himself goes into a grocery store, a bank, whatever he goes into, and is open carrying a rifle or a pistol? Do you think that's helpful?
I think it's great.
I love it. I think it's excellent.
Yeah, but I think it all depends on presentation. I mean, you got some of these guys that are in a place where it's not an everyday normal thing, and they got an AK strapped over the front of them with a sling, and their hand is on the grip. I mean, it's like, come on.
You make people uncomfortable.
That's like complete shock. I mean, if you're looking for shock value, then you're going to get pushback.
Picture that.
It'd be the same if we walked in with a handgun in our hand.
Well, but you asked, do you think it's beneficial? Is it beneficial? Right. Yes. Is it gonna be? Can something like that? Can you be the initiator of a cause or the initiator of a new concept without some retaliation or some kind of reaction? Well, no, I'm not going to suggest that. But if your question is it beneficial? I believe so, because we're talking about Texas open carry, and that means we're talking about the right of Texas to have open carry versus concealed carry, which means that somebody's listening to this, and this was all done without any violence, without anyone being injured, and it brings the firearms debate to the national agenda, to the national level, without any kind of violence, without any kind of tragedy, and I think that by itself is not a bad thing. And honestly, because this has been going on for a while, I'm going to look at this. I'm going to answer you a little bit after, like, so a little bit of wisdom after seeing this for, I don't know, at least months now. I think that it's going to help the gun community grow, because our first reaction, and to be honest, my first reaction was like, man, come on, do you really need to rub their faces in it, kind of thing? Like, just because you can doesn't mean you should. I totally understand those initial reactions, but once I think about it more cerebrally, or more like, just logically or whatever, again, for all the things I just said, it brings it to light in a nonviolent way. And how else are we going to do that? I mean, we're always going, I've said it before, we're always going to have the weirdest guy with a gun. There's always going to be the lowest hanging fruit for the other side to say, oh, come on, look at this, right? Now, short of being criminal, or short of being reckless, short of being unsafe, we're always going to have that person. So are we going to rage against their unlimited amount of data against us, their limited amount of ammo against us? When they're all, no matter who it is, if it's Open Carry Texas, we scold them and we teach them and we give them all kinds of. Now they're doing it with flowers, and they're doing it a much better way everybody can be happy about. Well, then they're just going to go to Nevada and find some jerk in Nevada who's poking bayonets into cows for some reason, right? To do something, and they're going to go see people with guns like to poke cows with bayonets or whatever, and then we'll have to go defend that guy or whatever. So instead of getting into that mentality of we have to go run to the rescue and again, put on our tie and our business suit and explain why we're, really all better than this one guy. Instead of having to do that, I think as a community, we'll hopefully, and I'd like to think that we're moving forward, we'll be able to take these black eyes. Yeah, sure, there's a crazy bunch of people in Texas who are doing some stuff that might be too extreme for some people. And then let's move on. And, because there's going to be something next week in Pennsylvania, or something weird in Maine, or they're going to prove why Vermont should have never had, no type of gun restriction. But then there'll be another news story. So I think it does us better to get used to this and to keep moving the real line, the actual front line forward, and not get stuck up in these little battles. And that's why I think those are all the reasons I think that this is overall a good thing. Even though obviously it wasn't done perfectly and it could have been done better, I think it was a good thing overall.
Well, let me ask you guys a question about, in the same vein, staying in Texas. The Huey Long Gun Club did a open carry walk through their neighborhood, right, in Dallas. And it actually got some positive press from their local area. That's the only place I ever saw it, by the way. But it was, what do you guys think about that? That black community gun club that got together and did an open carry walk with long guns.
Well, I think that's great.
I didn't see it, but that sounds cool, like a parade or something.
No, it was like a parade protest, but yeah, it was.
I think it's a beautiful thing that's being, I guess, badly promoted. Because I mean, like I'm glad you heard of it, Mule. But I mean, the fact that
I heard it.
It's kind of sad that I mean, like I haven't heard of it, so I'm sad for myself for not hearing it.
Well, do we all have to hear about everything, though? I mean,
yeah, because I'm
allowed
on
to have their own
Instagram.
thing.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm on Instagram and everything. I get my news source from the IG.
Twitter. I'm not on Instagram or Twitter, so.
I was really surprised that Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson wasn't there supporting his brother's right to carry guns.
No, they're as afraid as everybody else.
That's sarcastic if nobody picked up on that.
I know. And they're as afraid as everybody else. I got to tell you, G, the one who's up is G. I'm not really sure who you are. But I like that picture. That one that's on the Moms Against whatever, the Kroger picture. Look at that guy. That's a hipster with an AK. I mean, who can really, when you were talking about earlier about how somebody dresses, who can argue with the way this guy's dressed, walking around a grocery store? You can't. You figure he's shopping for himself or his kids. Right?
That's a skinny Telly Savalas right there.
Yeah.
Looks like D.B. Cooper.
It might be.
Yeah, right. D.B. Cooper's head is way too big.
I don't think that picture, and I think they're foolish using it, because I don't think that picture is going to scare half of their targeted audience.
Right.
You know, because their targeted audience is going to look at that and go, I know that guy.
Right. And I think that's where open carrying in public might be successful. It's kind of like what G-Webs was saying is, if as long as our reaction is kind of respectful and subdued every time, the other side is just going to keep posting pictures and drawing like articles about, look at this guy open carrying, look at this guy open carrying, and eventually it'll be like, so what? Like, what's he doing wrong? Another
exactly.
guy. grocery store, then what happened? Nothing, you know.
Can you imagine like 2 or 3 years of these articles, and then somebody can come along and gather them all and be like, look at how many examples there are of people open carrying. These are just the examples you were able to illustrate, and nothing ever happened about any of them.
I don't think that people like Everytown, they don't care what the person looks like. They're just looking at the gun and how evil it is, and that he was able to carry it in public. That's all they care about.
I think to the contrary, is like what they're really trying to go after is exactly that. Like they want to point out, you know, the soccer dad who carries the gun and say this is not okay for America to do. Like they're more interested in photo capturing, like, you know, as I said, like a middle-aged soccer type dad open carrying a long gun in a Kroger's, more so than they are, you know, two neck-filled tattoo bikers or whatever hanging out in the corner showing each other their guns while they're smoking reefer in the corner. You know what I'm saying? They much rather get a
Marco,
picture.
stop filming me.
Yeah, why you gotta take pictures of you?
I was just gonna say thugs in general, but I don't like that word. But yeah, so you know what I'm saying? So like, you know, like two guys in a corner smoking meth and, you know what I'm saying, showing each other their pieces and, you know, in whatever gangster outfit you want to call it. I think that to Mother or to Everytown or to Mothers Against Illegal Guns doesn't mean as much to them as catching or capturing the image of a soccer dad in a public setting, because they want, I mean, like, they're not really battling the illegal guns. Like, we all know that they're battling the legal guns. So that's the perfect example of what they have and what they're trying to change and say this is not socially acceptable.
Good point, though.
I've never heard it said that way. So basically, at the end there, you're saying that we can illustrate to them that you're really condemning this public display of a legal firearm, when what you say, at least in your propaganda pages or whatever, is that you're combating illegal use of guns. So that way you can kind of put their feet to the fire and say what you're really trying to get rid of is all guns, right?
Basically. Like what's wrong with that? The guy's an upstanding citizen. You know, you could probably be like, you know, the guy makes, you know, six figures.
Well, I'm going to say it this way.
He's got kids.
Everybody can agree. He's got no reason to fear his life. He doesn't need the AK-47 for protection in that Kroger, but he also doesn't need that hat. He's in an enclosure, right? So a free man decides to wear his hat into the store. It might be against the rules manners-wise, just like, you know, that might bother people because they're not used to seeing the rifle. But is there really any difference if he's just carrying his property around inside a store?
Nope.
You know, the only reason why I think this really even is an issue for any of us is it kind of goes against. I mean, typically liberals are the ones that are the activists that are out there putting everything out in your face. You know, that's how they get their agenda through. They go for that shock, you know, with everything. And to see us do it is kind of like, you know, I just want to go to work and come home and get government out of my back. But for the liberals, this is what works. I mean, if this ultimately is going to get everybody to, you know, understand, you know, we do have a Second Amendment right in this country, and you shouldn't be afraid of guns, inanimate objects, then this may be the way to go.
Well, I think desensitizing people to it, you know, just it becoming more and more normal, less people will worry about it. You know what I mean? And especially when it's constitutional carry and you have the option to do both, right? I'm sure when you have the option to do both, most people are going to conceal carry because it's just more convenient.
Right.
And I don't want to get the impression that I'm encouraging open carry in weird ass places. I mean, I just think we don't need to react to it. I think that if people are going to do it, then people are going to do weird stuff. Do you need to encourage it? No, of course not. And I'm not suggesting we encourage it, but I'm just suggesting we look at the silver lining and move on, so that we don't. But what I guess concerns me is that when you said the liberals get to throw these crazy extreme examples out there and step back and, you know, kind of watch the chaos. That's true. That's been a strategy of the anti-gunners for a long time. But what I'm concerned about is that they're doing this more subtle type of shit where they put out this kind of thing and get us to fight with each other, get us to fraction ourselves, and in more than this. They've done it in lots of ways, but they'll throw these things out, and I'm not sure if that's just because we're able to communicate more and because we're all vocal and learning, we're all becoming aware that we have these differences, so we're already fractured and we're just discovering it, or the worst case scenario is that they're subtle enough, or they've got enough finesse to put these things out there so that it amplifies our divisions.
And think about it. I mean, like, it's so subtle. Like, I'm the G-Webs. Like, you kind of said both things together, but it's so subtle that they have us arguing amongst ourselves about what is already legal in those places.
It's like
what are we talking about? We're talking about practice.
Half of us are getting mad at the gun owners for owning their guns, and the other half are getting mad at those guys for scorning them. And nobody's winning here except the anti-gunners, because we're all looking like a bunch of dummies.
Yeah, and that's kind of their strategy.
That's all. That's their playbook, and more than just this, more than just any gun stuff. That's their divide and conquer is their playbook on everything anymore. That's why they pit everybody against each other, even within groups.
Yeah, we on the Second Amendment, we need to become more activist.
And it's hard to do because there's a lot of good at times there are good arguments on why there should be restrictions, right? Even though I don't believe in them, right? I personally think that felons, once they pay their debt to society, they should get their gun rights back along with their voting rights, because the Second Amendment has the only restriction is to the government, not to the individual. But you start laying that out, and let's talk about division in the gun culture or community. And I can understand all the arguments against it. But when I just stand on the Second Amendment, that's where I have to stand, personally.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, maybe not on every circumstance. But yeah, in a lot of cases, we have, if you're in a domestic dispute with your wife, something happens, and maybe somebody throws a glass and it breaks, and somebody gets a scratch, and you could lose your right to bear arms forever. I mean, if they take you to jail over that.
Well, up until a certain point, right? When you finished back in the day, let's say, okay, back in the 19th century, right? When you got out of prison, you finished doing your time for whatever it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
You were given X amount of dollars, a horse, and a gun to go about your merry business, right? William, what was it? A couple of those big. William Hardin, I think the guy's name was, ended up in jail, came back out, and ended up being a killer after that because they gave him his gun. You didn't lose any of your rights. You only lost them for the time that you were under, your freedom was taken from you back in the day. Nowadays, if you commit a felony, no matter what it is, it could be felony drunk driving, have nothing to do with a firearm, and you lose your firearm rights forever.
Right.
When did that felony application take effect? Like in the 80s, the 60s, the 30s?
68. With all the other 10 questions on 1968 gun control, or the 4473s.
Yeah.
But nowadays though, you got people that'll go in for, murder, second-degree murder, first-degree murder, and they're supposed to be in there for 50 years, and they're out in 10 years on good behavior, or something like that. That I don't know if I want to give him his rights back.
Well, and I understand that, and I can understand the argument, right? And I think that we need to take care of those kind of issues the way they did then, right? And it's a hanging tree, right? When you've done something so heinous that you can no longer be trusted to be within society for the rest of your life, then you don't need to continue living.
Right. So yeah, and that's more of a justice situation.
But yeah, so it gets bigger for sure. But I'm a every second matters guy. I say, well, to me, the Second Amendment says what it says, and that's all I go by. And luckily, I'm not a felon, so I've not had my firearm rights taken away from me.
That's weird. Are we still going?
Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned everyone needing to be, would you say, like an advocate? I forgot the word you used, but I didn't want to interrupt you guys. But you had mentioned something earlier about everyone needs to be an advocate to some extent, and I agree.
Activist.
Activist, yeah. But well, and not, I don't want to say more important, because we do need to do stuff once in a while. But it's also important, or it's at least easier to achieve, being aware, and that's what the whole point of the Every Second Matters is, so that we can get together once a month, talk about some of this stuff in an environment like this where it's just sort of open. So I'm using that as a way to wrap up, if you couldn't tell. We've been going for about an hour and a half now. I just don't want to, I mean, the discussion's great. And the only reason I'm chopping it is for the people that might be listening to this as a podcast. I know that it's unrealistic, for people to be able to listen to more than an hour and a half between breaks at work or whatever their situation is. So I figure it's a good time to chop it. It's been a great discussion this month, though. We'll try to do one on the 15th so that we can keep the ball moving, without having the 30 days between each one. And we've been doing that, and so far, that's been working. It hasn't been too much of this kind of stuff. But I want to thank everybody. Like I say, I hate to stifle the conversation. It's been excellent. We'll probably keep going, I'm sure, with after the thing ends here. But anyway, I just figured, let's chop it at an hour and a half. So thanks, everybody. We had some great points. If you want to bring points to this type of discussion, just talk to us on gun channels, or I don't know, contact anybody on whatever social media they're using. We all have emails and YouTube channels and stuff like that.
The Instagram.
You could use the Instagram. It's trendy.
Too bad you couldn't turn it off as a podcast and just leave it running on the gun channels, because they're still talking pretty good in there.
Yeah, they are, and I hate to stifle it. Like I say, I just don't want to let it turn into a 30-minute or a 3-hour thing. So I am going to chop it, and then we'll just start a lobby over there or something. So thanks again, everybody, for joining us. And remember, if we forget about the Second Amendment, it'll go away.